Simon, good to see you. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Good.
Yeah, not too bad. Warming up a bit. Picked the wrong day to leave my coat and hat on, but yeah, all good.
It's a typical British spring at the moment, I think. But let's talk about the rugby. Tom Briscoe, first of all, and his return. How's that come about?
Oh, obviously Richie's with us now, and he's got an eye on the now and obviously the future, and obviously in conversation around players, and Tom's obviously come up, and I think he can be really positive for us, not only now but next season as well. He's obviously very experienced, he's a winner, he trains at a really high standard, and part of our growth, if you like, and making ourselves better is will involve bringing in some experienced players, and Tom fits the bill. And obviously, you're probably going to ask anyway, but I'll jump onto that with Darnell on the other way around. For me, I've only been here a short time, really. Darnell's been good, he's been a good servant at the club. But that sport, it happens, and an opportunities are arisen there for Darnell now, so we obviously wish him all the best. But yeah, really happy to get Tom on board, and I think, as I say, repeating myself, I think he'll be really good. We've got a couple of really inexperienced young wingers there in Harvey, Barron, Lou Martin in particular. Even Liam's in the early stage of his career. I think Tom's knowledge and his habits can really rub off on those lads.
I'll come back to Darnell in a second. As far as Tom, at 34, what are you getting at that age with that experience?
Well, the experience is the big thing. Yeah. His body's not in too bad order, I do believe, sorry. But look, the age thing always comes up now. But really, a lot of players are playing longer now, aren't they? It's not how it used to be. Sports science has probably looked after people and allowed them to prolong their careers. So yeah, I think there's still plenty in the tank here. He's been doing a good job from what I've seen in recent times at Leeds. So yeah, there's no concerns in that front. And as I say, he's a good pro, looks after himself. So he'll be stretched out a bit longer, I think.
Yeah, he's been dealing with a calf injury, hasn't he? How's that looking?
Yeah, he's good. This week's too soon for him. But I'd imagine he'll be straight in there, completing everything next week and putting himself up for selection.
Was that always the expectation, or did you want to see him first?
Oh mate, to be honest, this has happened that fast. We knew from the initial conversation, knew Tom was getting over an injury. But it's neither here nor there. It's an opportunity for someone else to have a game this week, and then he goes in the mix next week.
Of course. As far as Darnell, just when you listen to feedback from fans and when you watch what he's done, I know it's been difficult for most players this season. Is he one of those players who maybe has come out with a bit of credit for what he has put in before you've let him go?
Yeah, look, I think for me, I've been asking the back three to interplay and work with each other best they can. We haven't always got it right, but Darnell certainly was trying to drive that for us. I think he did have some good contributions in the game we've had. But again, this is sport, it's not a personal thing. It's just an opportunity has arisen for him. And obviously Richie's got a lot of decisions to make around people that are off contract, and that's the call on it, so we move forward.
It's been a busy week though, 2 players in as well in Ed Chamberlain and a short-term loan for Yusuf Aidin. What do they offer? Yeah,
it's been a mad couple of weeks to be fair. Obviously, centre, Cam injury, Ed can play centre and back row, and again his experience, he's played plenty of games against men, and as much as I'm all for playing the young kids, and I thought they did a great job last week, I think playing so many at the same time, it's not exactly making it a great experience for them. Not through lack of trying, but it's a tough ask at the moment with where our confidence has been at and so on, and missing some senior players in our group and putting so many in at once. I'm not sure that's the smartest thing to do every week. So yeah, bringing in a fresh face in Ed's great, and Yusuf ties directly into that. He's a young player who's played. He's got a bit more on the board than our young lads, and he's chomping at the bit to make an impression here for us. So if we can save them young lads a bit, it's not over for them. There's a long way of season to go yet, but if we can save a couple of them and not have to play so many together at any one time, I think that's a smart play for us.
Has he been on the end of a bit of a wind-up from the dressing room, given he's come from across the city?
No, we're not in a position to wind up our way at the moment. They're the ones who are having the better of it. So Yusuf's come in with a good attitude. He's ripped into training, as I'd expect from what I'd heard about him. Good young kid, and again, he's got a bit like Ed. They've still got a bit to prove. If you're not playing for your team and you go on loan, there's obviously a reason you're not getting yours. Not always cut and dry, but they've got a point to prove when they come on loan, I think, so I think that can be good for us.
We'll both go in the squad for this one?
Yeah, they're both in the squad for this one. There'll be a couple of changes in there, obviously we invite Liggy and Brownie back as well, so we're getting there. We've got a couple more in Fash, Carlos in the background there, and obviously True, which is a little bit a big one for us when we get him back. But we're getting somewhere near having the majority of them being men, if you like, on the field and some seasoned blokes. So we're getting there, and it's just all about building and trying to be better for longer and climbing every week.
I'll pick up on some of those injuries in a second. What are the likelihoods of Ed and Yusuf featuring then actually in the game? And they'll be in the squad. Yeah,
they'll be in playing for us. There's no point in bringing them in if you're going to see them in the stand. So yeah, they'll be in. They've had a couple of good sessions. It's turned out pretty well in the sense we've had that long week between the last one and this coming one against Leeds. So they've had opportunity to have a couple of good days in them, and then we'll just try and polish up a bit Saturday morning before we go on Sunday.
Early days yet. Is this sign of Richie making his mark already in terms of what he needed and wanted to do?
Yeah, he's obviously coming in and looking at everything, gathering a lot of information, and obviously Richie will probably share at a later date where he's at in terms of what he thinks, what it looks like in 2 years, 3 years, 4, 5 and all that. And some of these decisions are obviously leading into that plan. And using Tom as an example, a good experienced pro that can help bring on these young lads, because obviously it's not all just going to be about bringing people in, it's about how we get these lads that are in our scholarship, academy, reserves and turn them into first graders. So there's a lot of moving parts and it's a big puzzle, but time will get us through it.
I know it was something you touched on with us when we chatted last week, but that prior relationship that you have with Richie, now that he's in the building, you've had the chance to engage and have those conversations. How's that gone?
Yeah, good. I think Rich would be the first to tell you he doesn't know it all. He hasn't had the years in the bank doing that job, but he's eager to learn and he's open about the not knowing it all as well, which is the best bit, because if he come in carrying on like he were when was it Billy Bean? He was the man in baseball, wasn't he? If you carried on like that, bloke, you'd be going, hang on a minute. So now he's doing all right, enthusiastic. He's been in, he's around, he's a presence with the boys. They're getting to know him, and that's obviously really important to have that personal relationship. But yeah, he's in to do a job, and he knows how it should look. As we all do, we all kind of have a good picture of how it should look, lifting the trophy at the end of it, and it's all that work in between that we need to work out.
As you said, it's been a busy couple of weeks. It's never dull. There's always something. The Paul Rowley talk this week as well. How have you managed that within the squad? Because it's probably been hard to avoid, hasn't it?
We haven't really. I think obviously there was a lot in the press in the last couple of days. That's been said. Listen, and it's the same goes for me. We're only doing a job. That decision will be made by someone above us. So we just get on with it. Really, there'll be obviously be speculation until the decision's made on that front. That's inevitable. So it's one of them things. It's a bit of noise that other people can talk about. We just have to get on with it day to day.
But from that noise, it moves on to other names. Lee Breers is one, someone you know very well. If it's not you, and I know you're keen to make your mark as a coach, but if not you, what would make him a good candidate for that, given how much you know him?
Breers has obviously been in some great environments, and his latest role at Brisbane, they had a really successful year, and he's been in and around some good players, and obviously great coaching staff there. And Breers will have added tenfold to that. I think he obviously did a great job at Warrington for a period of time, moved on, had pretty much an immediate success at Wigan with Mike P, and he's gone and he's been part of a grand final appearing side in last season with Brisbane. So he'd got a wealth of experience, probably. Definitely the best player I ever played with in terms of his understanding of the game and knows what's going on. And I'm sure he must be showing that ability, or he won't be where he is, but if he can transfer that into his coaching, I think he's going to be an asset to anyone. Whether he ends up here or not, I've got no idea. As I said, all that's for someone else to talk about, but they'd be worse blokes than Breers, I reckon.
It's going to need a big sell to tempt him from Brisbane, though, in fairness, isn't it, weather-wise, if nothing else?
Yeah, well, I imagine he'd be pretty happy over there. But he's English, he's from England, he'll always be home on it, so there'll be a drawback here in some way, shape or form. Whether that's Hull at the moment or what, I don't know, but again, time will reveal all on it.
It will. Let's talk about your squad news and squad fitness and injuries and everything else. Jack Walker and Liam Tyndall, first of all, how did they do in the reserves last week?
Yeah, pretty good. I said to you in the interview last week, for Jack, after coming back off the injury, it was more about ticking the boxes of just doing the job, the movement, getting around the field without issue, and he did that pretty well. It was a good game. I went over and watched it. Decent contest, much different to the one 24 hours earlier. Not even that, about 12 hours. It was a home, touch the bedpost and go back to Saints. But yeah, it was a decent contest. Young lads, they played pretty well. It was an alright game.
They involved?
Pardon?
Will they be involved?
Yeah, they'll be involved in the squad. We've got some last checks to do, which we'll do Saturday morning, and we'll work that out from there. But yeah, they give themselves a good chance.
Did you see some of what you wanted from Jaden Knockenball?
Yeah, Orc went and played the 80. As I said to you last week, he weren't happy with how he's been going. He went and played middle, played 80 in the middle where he wanted to play. I thought he did an okay job of it. He needs to do a little bit more if he wants to come and do that job for us in the first team there. But he's working hard in the background. I'll have to get on with it and take his chance when it comes around.
Why do you think it hasn't been clicking for him?
A lot of things probably.
Is he unsettled?
I don't think so. He's a young man at the other side of the world. Some of these other guys that have come with wives, girlfriends and such, Jaden's come on his own. So while they're all doing the couple things, in his early stages of being here, probably was on his own a little bit. It's difficult for those lads, but yeah, I think look, he's coming to a team where pre-season's great, everyone talks about everything's going well and all that, and then you play games, you find out where you are, and this is a big fan base, and fans in general don't mind voicing their opinion, do they? They're entitled to it, and we've been on the end of some bad perception because we've not been good enough. And I think, I'm probably generalising here, but I think your NRL players, they generally bear the brunt of that when we expect a lot of them when they come over. But as I've said, Jaden's not on his own in not delivering what we'd like so far this season. But it's certainly not been for lack of trying. He's been training well, his attitude's been great around the place, so he just needs to keep working hard and ensure that things get to the level of performance we need, and he'll get another opportunity.
Jake Truman still on track?
Yeah, he's looking great. It's a bit frustrating having him in training at the moment, just because he's that good. Like, he's picking the right pass. He's looking like a player again now. He's moving pretty well. He's obviously he's ticked the medical boxes around. Can you do contact? And gone through all that rehab and arduous time there. He's done a good job of it, particularly after suffering an injury before that, a long one, really unfortunate, but hopefully, touch wood, he's due a break, isn't it? And we're getting back on the field, but yeah, he's been great in training and he's just topping up that fitness now, getting himself ready.
Is next week still the target? You were looking hopefully week 10, weren't you?
Yeah, hoping so, but again, with him having 2 successive long-termers, it's not something we can rush, and only if Truey's 100% ready to go for it physically, mentally, he'll go back in. But I can see once he's got the ball back in his hands, you can see he's getting ready to go.
What about Carlos, Brad Fash and Mitch as well?
Mitch has had a tough time of it. He had an ACL repair, and he's not, I think he had some complications early on which have slowed it down, but he's on the right track. I can't give you a definitive time for him, but I think it's now he's still on getting the balance right with his strength balance is left to right, strength balance before he takes the next step. But he's working hard. Another one who you don't see that bit. It's a tough slog, is that in the background, but he's getting at it. He'll keep going with that. Fash, I think Fash is coming towards the back end of the time frame we'd hoped for. He's still struggling a bit, so Fash has got probably a little bit more investigation to go there and check out what's going on. But again, he's another one who's chomping a bit, and he struggles a whole lad, full and proud, and it's been hard for him to sit and not be able to contribute on field. So he's one that's chomping a bit, and I'm really looking forward to getting him back involved with us. Carlos, the last one you mentioned, so he did that against, I can't think who it was against. That was against Lee. He might have done Lee, wasn't it? Significant hammy tear. Just one of those things, unfortunate, no one's fault, but he's getting on with that. I think should be over the halfway mark in his recovery now. So again, another one working away in the background. Be good to get him back on field and offer what he can on that field.
Just a quick one on that. Nick Staveley said was going to have his op on Friday. Has that happened?
Oh yeah, Nick's had his done. Give him a text Friday. He's all good. be laid up at home, getting looked after, no doubt, at the moment. But yeah, he's got a tough slog in front of him, and like those other boys, it will be hard work, but everyone will get around him and try to keep him in high spirits, because it's a long road, but he's a young man, he'll get over it. It's not like 30 years ago when you did that, you were probably out scrappy, but yeah, he's in a good position, he's in good hands.
Wish him well with it. No bands this week, must be a refreshing change.
Yeah, I got a text off Cull. When I was coaching at Halifax, obviously did the same job there, and you dread the phone call going, which a bit sad really, because I love him as a bloke.
Puts you off him a bit though.
Yeah, relieved not to get any bands. I don't want to say too much on it, the band stuff, but they have slowed down, haven't they? I think there's been a little bit of a rethink on some bits, and a bit more sense taken with regards to cards, and now we're looking at them and treating them after the fact. So yeah, a nice phone call this time, well, not a phone call, a text.
Yeah, exactly. How do you reflect on last Friday?
Mate, same as I sort of said straight after the game, that it weren't all prayer. It did feel a bit different. We certainly did roll over. We played a very determined and hurting Saints team. You could see that in the team selection. I think whether we like it or not, if everything was rosy at Saints, we might have been the team. They go, oh, we'll change that this week and give him a rest, and they certainly didn't do that. They played everyone that was available to them, and I'm glad they did, because it showed our lads that in terms of the effort, we can stay in it and we can do it. I thought the young lads were really good, they were brave. And we were quite brave with the ball, with what we did have. We tried a few things which got a little bit of success, but on the whole it was a bit of men versus boys affair. Physically they got after us, and they did a really good job of dominating field position. But it was good, as I say. I think it was a step in the right direction despite what the scoreboard said.
Yeah, with that, and despite the effort and how pleased you were at that side of it, how quickly is it forgotten though when you're on the end of another 50 plus scoreline?
Yeah, look, I said to the boys before the game, if we're judging ourselves on the scoreboard alone at the moment in the predicament we're in, we're going to be down on ourselves every week, and it's not a nice place when you're struggling, you're losing. So we've got to try and find the positives. Not obviously, we've got to acknowledge what's wrong and then try and keep improving on it. But yeah, we've got to look to those bits, and I think as a fan base, and I hear it from loads of people, everyone wants really, I'm saying as a fan of other sports, you want to see your team having a dig, don't you? I thought they saw that, and I'm not saying that lads haven't tried throughout the season, but I think there were probably a couple of hundred fans from Hull that made that long trip home, which was really appreciated. But I think they certainly saw it in person. They certainly saw it in person at their efforts, which were good. So happy on that front, but it's a building block, and we've just got to stick. Our effort's got to be that high, but the performance has just got to keep climbing as well. Yeah,
I mean, you say you're not saying they haven't tried in the past, but many fans do feel that's the case, don't they? So they're looking for that as the absolute minimum.
Yeah, vicious cycle. When you're losing, trying hard, not getting the reward, that's when, we had a couple of blips in games, 10, 15 minutes where we've conceded 4 or 5 tries in those periods, and that's where the glassy-eyed bit comes in, because it's like, Groundhog Day, we're getting this again. And then we managed to string a bit together in those second halves. It's been up and down, it's tough, but you can't moan about it. There's worse jobs to be doing. We are privileged, don't want to get onto the cliches, but there's no job in the world other than maybe some other sports that pay a lot more money. There's no job I'd rather be doing, and I'm sure it's the same for the boys, so you just got to keep coming to work, trying to get back.
How do you manage some of those younger, the less experienced players who haven't been through this kind of, and I'll call it sporting trouble, because as you said, there are far worse things in the world? How do you manage them? Because it can be quite damaging, can't it, to be on, like I said, despite the effort, when you're on those kind of results, it probably could have a negative impact on them. How do you manage that side of it?
Yeah, that's it, trying to protect them a bit. It is difficult when you haven't got all the bodies you need to look after them, and that's part of the process of picking teams moving forward. I think it's important those lads still get game time, but at the same time they've got to be smart not to overexpose them. I think it's sadly like winning is something you get used to, and I don't want to speak out of turn at all, but over the last few years at this club, got used to not being that successful. So I think it's not too out of the ordinary for these young lads coming up now, and that's where as a collective we can't wait for 2 or 3 years time to change that. It's got to start now in everything we do, and we spoke a little bit about that competitive nature and having that fight in you and everything we do around our training, and that has improved a bit, I think. And it's not because Tony's moved on, it's probably the reality of the situation where if it's got to where a coach is getting moved on and you've played a part in it, you need to frame yourself really and get better. And that performance against Saints was probably a start of showing some of that, but it is just the start. There's a long way to go yet, but if it keeps getting better every week, we're making progress, and that's all we can ask for at the moment.
Of course. If you take something from that then, in terms of the positivity that you felt coming out of that, and then you look at Leeds, you're not in great form, but you look at them, they've lost 4 of the last 5 if you include the Challenge Cup in there as well. How much confidence does that give you then that this could be that moment just for something that light to switch on?
Yeah, look, I'm expecting us to play well. Every week I've been here.
Yeah.
We've prepared well. I think we've got a couple of men back in that team this week, fresh faces that freshen us up a bit, and a little bit of a spring in our step today at training. We had a bit of a laugh this morning. I'm confident going into this one. I'm not irrespective of what Leeds are. I'm confident we're going to be better again. That's the important bit, and being better for longer is the script really at the moment.
Questions being asked over there about them though. Are you surprised at what's happening over at Leeds right now?
With regards to
in terms of their form and not necessarily delivering what their fans are expecting?
Yeah, look, the expectation at Leeds Rhinos is really high because of the success, and it's not distant success, it's pretty close to successes they've had, so you can understand it. But looking at it from a coaching perspective, they've got a brand new spine. They've had lots of injuries up and down. Blokes in for a game, out for a few. So there's a bit of upheaval going on in the background there, but I think because it's Leeds, they're still expected to knock the wins off. But I think Super League's a competitive league now. I think it's over the last few years, it's definitely getting closer to where it's not just 4 teams, maybe it's 6 teams for the 4, and maybe it's getting towards 9-10 teams when everyone's on form and such that could maybe be in the 6, and that's only good for the league. But I think that's where you come undone. And Leeds, I think they are they 50-50 get wins to losses. So it's not, in my view, I don't think it's panic station, the end of the world, particularly when you consider 1, 6, 7, 9 are brand new. Get to the halfway point and they're still not getting in a groove and clicking. I could understand a bit of noise around it then, but I think there's a hell of a long way to go and a lot of improvement in that team. I've watched plenty of my brothers over there, so I've watched plenty of them, and they're a good team. They do some things different to everyone else, and when it isn't going well, people pick on the thing that's different and say, well, that's not good enough. But when it's going well, they're on the other side of that. That's the way we are when we watch sport. I think they're a good side. They've got loads of threat, and they're encouraged to move the ball. They've got some really skillful players, and when it sticks, they're an absolute handful. Hopefully it don't stick for them on Sunday.
She said.
No worries.
Tom.
Hi Simon. Hayes Perham was a name, obviously linked with full last week. Is there any update on him, please?
He's another one I've seen in the press. Richie's probably your man for that. I would imagine that at the moment we're going to be linked with anyone who's out of work, probably anyone who's in work, because he's got a job. As did Paul Rowley as well. Hayes Perham, he plays his Canterbury now, linked with him. I'd imagine there'll be more and more because we're talking about changing and moving forward. Progress is going to happen, so I will be linked with every player under. So I would imagine
nothing changes there then. Cam Scott, is he our excess? Sorry, on Insta.
Cam, yeah,
That's the cut, didn't it?
Yeah. I don't know actually what happened. I think he collided with one of our players in that game against Saints. For the hitch, they didn't do a hitch. It's called a category 1, I believe. If you give a bit of a wobble or you stay down too long, they write you off straight away. So Cam's obviously missing this week with that. He's fine though. He's doing all the protocol and getting himself ready.
And in terms of the game this week, obviously you've had a 9-day turnaround by the time it comes to playing again. What would you say would be the key things you're looking to take into that game to build on last week?
Confidence in how brave we were with the ball. The very few times we had it, of course, they absolutely dominated possession in Saints. That, the scramble and effort for each other, they're the focuses really, and if we can build on that bravery and get a bit more of the ball and a bit more field position, it'll all look a little bit different. I think, as we said in that conversation there, we made some strides forward in a couple of areas, not strides, some little steps. We just need to keep building on them, and again, I'm not really looking at the scoreboard too much, because the scoreboard in the end will look after itself when we get the elements that are important. Right?
So it's certainly on performance at the minute.
Yeah, listen, we'll all be judged on the scoreboard. We want to win. We're going with a plan where we think we can expose some of Leeds' areas that sort of suit us, our attributes well, and we can try and show them off. But performing well doesn't always lead to the 2 points anyway. But that's what we're after. If we can put ourselves in a position to take the points, it'd be brilliant. But I think, again, for us, just building on what we've got at the moment and seeing some improvement again would be great for us.